Hello and welcome back to the channel. I was about to say the workshop then, but I'm actually sat in my living room at home, just got back from work. So this video, really we're focusing on the engine. As you see from previous videos, it was in a bit of a mess when it came out and was probably overall with the car the worst sort of bit that was sort of corroded. It had really taken the brunt of the corrosion from its sort of being parked up for 17 years. So it was quite a big job to get it out and get it all to a standard that sort of I was happy with. I didn't just want to sort of jet wash it and leave it in the car looking all corroded because I just didn't think it looked right. You know, obviously it was in such a bad way. As you can see on our very first video, after we jet washed it and steam cleaned it, it still looked a mess. So the idea really was to get it out and really make it presentable. Being a professional detailer, obviously I knew that once I got the bodywork up to standard, which you will see in a later video, that the engine would have definitely let it down. So the priority really there was to get it looking nice and get it looking sort of as new as we could again. So watch along. I hope you enjoy the video and you'll see what we got up to. Okay, so this is where we start to basically get the engine out and work on the suspension and running gear. She's been sat aside for a couple of weeks, so she's a bit dusty and covered in pollen. I've got some new headlamps coming, so they'll go in as well. But the next stage really is just getting this engine out, getting the cam belts done, having a good tidy up in there, and having a go with this sort of suspension and running gear. Okay, so we've got the engine out. Took us about a day to get out. We ended up bringing it out through the bottom. The gearbox was still attached, so it was a bit tight to come out through the top, so we just dropped it off its subframe. But as you can see, it's quite dirty. There's a lot of cleaning up for me to do there on the subframe, the engine and the gearbox, which I'll get stuck into. And the boys are going to do the cam belts and a few other bits and bobs in there. We'll replace all the sensors, any of the gaskets, camshaft seals, things like that. All that's going to get replaced, so when it goes back in we should be pretty confident that we're not going to get any oil leaks or anything nasty pouring out of her. But there she goes, she's out. So the gearbox is out. So what I'm doing now is just linishing off all the surface corrosion, and then I'll paint the gearbox, and then I shall do the same to the engine block as well, so it should make it look nice and tidy once it's all done. But that gives you an idea of the corrosion that was on the box when it came out. And as I'm slowly going around with the linisher, you can see I'm getting back to sort of how it should look. It's all starting to clean up. Yeah, that's just going around with the linisher. So I'll get the finer one and get in all the nooks and crannies, and then I'll give it a steam clean off just to finish it all off. There is what looks like oil seepage from around the head, a bit up there as well, could be from a seal. So I think we should do the head gasket. And there's also evidence of oil seepage from these corners, which according to people online reckon that's the head gasket and that's where it fails the most and blows the oil out the front. So now I'm going to take the top of the inlet manifold off and the throttle body. So we've got this vacuum hose here that goes from the back and that runs down to there. So I'm probably going to disconnect that this end. We've also got the potentiometer switch there, which I'm going to disconnect there. And then I'll take all that off, ready to be cleaned and repainted. So we've got this wiring loom that plugs in to the top of the inlet manifold. It comes into this here, separates round there, and goes into the crankshaft sensor and into whatever sensor that is. So I'm going to remove this now and then undo the bolts for that. I'm just going to disconnect that vacuum hose there from the head, and that should be everything to get it off. Jesus, whether it's the head gasket or the rocker cover gasket, it's just pissing some oil out. There's a fair bit of oil leaked out of there over time. I'm wondering if that's the culprit to all the oil that was on the engine. HT leads go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm going to remove the cradle for the coil pack. Should be those bolts there. And finally remove that plug there, which goes into that wiring loom there. Now I'm going to undo this bolt here for the dipstick, which will hopefully free up the space to be able to get this water pipe off from the thermostat. So this water pipe is actually attached behind the exhaust manifold there. So I'm assuming that just doesn't hook over. I would imagine you have to loosen the exhaust manifold to get that off. Finally for today, I'm going to get the thermostat housing off. So I'll start by disconnecting this loom here that runs across the top of the engine. We've got the red one, we've got one down there, and we've got this connector here. So I'll disconnect those and then I shall take that off. So I've got those plugs off now. I'm going to take the thermostat housing off. So I'm going to undo this from here because this is solid and stuck to the manifold. Disconnect that from there and then I'll take that off. Here we go, thermostat housing is off. There wasn't a gasket around there. I'm not sure whether there's meant to be one or not. I would have thought there would have been, but there isn't one. So I'll investigate that one. So you can see from just having a couple of minutes there with the linisher, you can actually get all that sort of surface corrosion off relatively easy. So I'll persevere with that. And then once that's nice and sort of cleaned back, I'll actually repaint it so it'll all look nice. So this is after about half an hour with the linisher. I've got most of the corrosion off. I just need to get in there with a little fine one now just to get into the corners. And then up there, we'll probably end up potentially taking the head off and doing the head gasket while the engine's out. I just think it makes sense really, and to put one of those uprated head gaskets on there. So I think we might as well do that while we're at this point. I've loosened off that upper oil feed. That took some bloody doing. This was all seized on here. It took me about an hour to get it off, but it's off anyway now. Might be worth looking at replacing this if we can. So this one is a 15mm bolt. This one I think is a 13, but it may be rounded. That one is a 15. I think that one up there is a 15. And the one under there was 15, and that's bloody snapped off. So we've got the head off now, and it does look like it's actually had a head gasket replacement. It's got the better MLS gasket on there, but we'll replace it with a new one anyway. So we've got the head off, and what I'm about to do now is start cleaning up this side of the block, ready for painting, and I'm also going to fit a new water pump while I'm here. If we go this side, it sort of gives you an idea of how the block's going to look when it's clean and painted. So it should look lovely when it's back in the engine, in the car, sorry. And there you go. So there's a before, and there's an after. That's the new water pump in. There was nothing really wrong with the old one, but we changed it anyway, just to be on the safe side. So I've just finished off most of the corrosion on the opposite side of the block now. So I'll get in there, do a bit more rubbing down and cleaning, ready to paint it. So I'm now just going to clean up the aircon compressor before I paint it. It's got quite a lot of corrosion on it, which is why I've taken it off the block, just so I can get right in and give it a good clean. So jumping onto the starter motor now, give that a linish off and a clean up of paint. And there's the aircon compressor at its first coat, another couple of coats on that, and that'll be looking good. So that's the block painted now, ready for the new head gasket to go back on. So it's looking a lot better than that rusty, corroded thing that came out a couple of months back. So when the head's on and that's mated to the gearbox and the planners are on, that's all going to look nice and tidy, nice and clean in the engine bay. So that's the head, and a couple more of the brackets painted. So I've just got the rest of the block to do now, and then we can get the head gasket on. We're just waiting for the dowels, the metal dowels for the head gasket, and then we can do that and get the engine back in. So I've got the turbo plenum and the new throttle body housing back on with the throttle body, and this is a billet piece off a guy called Andy Cohen, who comes very highly recommended on the internet, and he's done this for me, and the coolant pipes, which I'll show a bit later once we get them fitted. And I'm really impressed with the quality. Really good. It took him about 4 weeks longer to get them to me than what was originally sort of stated when I bought them, but in all fairness, well worth the wait. Like really good quality stuff. So I'll catch up on the video once I've got the rest of the coolant pipes fitted. So it's starting to come together nicely now. We've got the manifold back on, we've got the new coolant pipes on. Obviously the hoses need connecting and all that. I've cleaned up all the rocker covers, new spark plugs in. So I think we're too far away now from getting the whole thing sort of put back together. Just got to get the new turbo on. We've gone for a T28 turbo. That's over there on the chair. So that's got to go on next. Oh, along with the alternator. I've just got to clean that up and paint that up and get that on as well. But yeah, I'm happy with that. We've also got the new power steering coolant pipe on there. That's made by the same guy that made the coolant pipes on the engine. We have noticed that the radiator's a bit knackered, so I will be putting a new radiator in there. The fins are really corroded. So I shall be on Google very shortly, trying to find a new radiator. And then we'll get that in and get the engine in. So we've practically got the engine back together now. Gearbox is on, the new bigger T28 turbo's on. So hopefully by the end of this week we should have it back in the car. So there we go. As we draw this section of the video to a close, you can see how we went from this to this. It took quite a few months to do, sort of off and on, sort of a few late evening stuff like that. But basically, we got the engine out, we stripped it down, we did the new head gasket, put the new uprated head gasket on there, full service, replaced all the seals, new cam belt, new clutch slave cylinder, stripped down, repainted all the block, new throttle body holder. We actually did replace the throttle body itself, as well as the original one did turn out to be faulty, so that may have something to do with why the guy originally put the car away in the first place. And a load of other bits and bobs that I've probably forgotten about, but may mention sort of a bit later in the video. So yeah, we'll draw this video to a close for now, and we'll see you on the next one, and thanks for watching.